You are an Iron Man!
We have reached episode 53, and today I am joined by Stephen Chisholm. Stephen, you're very welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Good man. Stephen, you and I have been following each other mostly on Instagram for quite a while now, and we've been chatting and messaging each other, and we had the opportunity to actually meet face-to-face for the first time just last weekend, actually, at Try the Loch. Suppose we could start there. How did you get on in the triathlon in Loch?
I really enjoyed it. Second year doing it. It's such a lovely course. Really, really good fun. So had a good race as well. I shaved 6 minutes off my time from last year.
Brilliant.
Was 7 seconds short of a PB.
Almighty.
So yeah, very, very happy. With that, especially 3 weeks post Ironman as well. So, I was just going out to enjoy myself and happy to come away with a good result. Happy
days. Well done. I suppose it's probably fair to say, and you're not in bad shape then after the Ironman. We've jumped ahead of time there. Yes, you've completed your first Ironman there recently, and congratulations for that.
Thanks.
It's a phenomenal achievement for anybody to complete the long distance triathlon. But you've got quite the journey to get there, Stephen. So
yeah,
and that's what this podcast's all about. It's about sort of looking at our journeys and how we've made changes in our lives to better ourselves and become better, fitter people and role models to our family. I'd like to start back at the very start with yourself, Stephen, just in your own words, at any point in time, tell us where you came from initially.
Well, started off as a rugby player, and I was picked for rugby probably because of my size. I was overweight, and as I started to get older, certainly in towards the late teens, I got very overweight, peaking at about 19 and a half stone. So I was a big fella, playing prop, naturally. I had a very unhealthy relationship with food at that stage as well. I was just sort of eating whatever and just, I suppose one sense trying to maybe get like a dopamine hit or something, or hard to put the finger on it. Obviously this is a therapy session, so but
sometimes these podcasts turn into a bit of a therapy session, but if you want to go down that rabbit hole, I'm safe.
Yeah. But no, so look, yeah, very, very unhealthy relationship with food, and yeah, just ate a lot. I played a lot of rugby as well, and it wasn't bad, I did play prop for all my school years, and I went and toured New Zealand with the school.
Brilliant.
And that was a great experience, but I always knew that, back in my head, I was like, oh, I'd love to be a really good rugby player, but I know that I just don't quite have it. But it's sort of the in sport to do it at such schools. So yeah, and look, I love playing rugby as well. Even continue to play after I left school. And it was sort of when I did finish up school that I got a little bit more of a handle on my weight. I started to lose a bit of weight, and actually ended up losing in around 6 stone. So got down to the 13 and a half at my lowest. So about 85 kilograms or thereabouts. So I'd started hitting the gym and still playing rugby, and moved into second row and number 8, which positions I absolutely loved playing. They were just fantastic.
Help me understand rugby a wee bit, Stephen, because I would be a bit green behind the lugs when it comes to rugby. Now, I would watch it, international rugby. I will watch Ireland games and stuff like that. I'll watch the Six Nations, but I wouldn't have a notion about it, to be perfectly honest. So see, whenever you were saying there that whenever you were at your heaviest, you were in at the prop position. Do you think being a big guy? I suppose being a big guy is crucial for that particular role, and that was the big guy feeding your eating habits, or was your eating habits feeding into the big guy? Were you giving yourself an excuse to eat and eat and eat to maintain that big heavy presence?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day when I knew we were coming on to chat, just out in one of my runs, and I thought to myself, actually, I knew that it was never fast. I still wouldn't consider myself fast, but or overly, quick on the feet or whatever. And my sort of the main thing that I had going for me was my size. I'm tall as well, about 6'3", and 6'3", being 18, 19 stone makes you a big guy, hard to stop. Which is
Jonah Lumu wouldn't be in it, sort of thing. I'm showing the age there, but I remember him from the TV.
Oh, I know.
It's like getting tackled by a fridge.
Oh, jeez, I know, he was a beast. Yeah, absolutely. You want people on your team that the other team are going to look at and think, geez, I don't want to tackle him when he's coming for me. So, yeah, I suppose that I did think, if I want to maintain this position of being on the first 15 or, being continuously selected for rugby, I need to keep this size, because if I don't have my size, I don't have much else. Yes, I suppose I had a bit of strength, but, it's not great when you don't have speed or a bit of skill with it as well. So I'm sure that, it definitely did help or feed into the fact that I was eating a lot to try and keep that size. That, and as well, I think anyone who has been a bit overweight will be able to tell you that it's hard to it's a long process to lose the weight. You can go through a long period of having to do it, which is hard, and it's so much easier to just make yourself feel better by opening a packet of crisps or getting a burger or whatever. So there was a lot of that at the same time.
I think for me, you've sort of hit a wee thing there for myself. Whenever I was heavier, at my heaviest I was about 13.5 stone, and I suppose I'm only 5'10", so still unhealthy, still overweight, and there was a part of me that longed to be a better version of myself, and I might have had that notion, and I think whenever I reflect, I probably felt like that from about my mid-20s right through to till I was 40. You would have a face on you pretending that you were happy and pretending that everything was sweet, but inside you were like thinking, Christ, I'm not happy with myself, and I wish I was a wee bit slimmer or whatever. And it's probably just a natural thing. I suppose us blokes don't really chat much about it. Yeah. And rather than chat to anybody about it, there's a couple of different ways we go about it. We either just bury the head in the sand and we get on with it and we accept our fate, or we have a good old chat to ourselves, we give ourselves a kick up the ass and we go after a new version of ourselves. So that happened for you. You made the decision that you would lose a bit of weight. So you dropped down. How much weight did you lose then? 6 stone off to get down to that different position.
So 115 kilograms or just above that, down to 85 kilograms. So it equates to about 6 stone. Yeah,
that's unreal.
But in doing that, I went to having one end of the scale on healthy relationship with food to the other end of the scale on healthy relationship with food, where I actually got so sort of strict on myself, so regimented, hitting the gym, going to rugby training, maybe going out a run, and eating as clean as possible, and it was, I'd actually lost a bit of myself, I suppose, a bit of my personality. One of my close friends, she'd actually commented at the time, saying, she liked the fat Stephen better, and she said when all the fat went, so did the fun. That sort of stuck with me a bit as well, because I thought, she's right, actually, because I'm not going to things, or I'm limiting myself, and I'm not enjoying eating as much. Now I work in the food industry. I run a bakery, so I'm very into food and chefing as well. I would consider myself a decent cook, so I was cooking very nice healthy meals at the same time, but I was so focused on low calorie, low fat, protein, and it was, I'd gone to the other end of the scale at that point. So
it's a fine balance, really, isn't it? Going from giving yourself permission to eat whatever you want to maintain that frame, and the justification for it is your position within the rugby team, and the accolades and the praise and the victories and the feel good factor and the camaraderie from your mates and all around that. To then the opposite side of the scale, which is really, really alien. It's a massive, massive shift.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you've worked through that now, and you're more balanced in your approach to your nutrition and things like that. Is that where we're at now?
I think I suppose it was good going from one end of the scale to the other, and then now I've found a good balance. And I've maintained my current weight, give or take a few kilos either side, for the past probably 8 years or so. So I think I'm there now, and I'm human as well. At the same time, we always have a few let go weeks around Christmas and everything, and you have to, because you have to enjoy yourself at the same time.
You absolutely do, Stephen. 100%. And it's strange that I'm speaking to a guy actually at the Lochmacrory triathlon, and I have spoken to people before as well that have lost weight, and I suppose I would include myself in this. It's sometimes we can lose the weight, but we can't lose the idea that we're still not good enough, or we're still holding a bit of belly fat, or we're still a bit of a chunk. You could be, you might look fit, but you might feel fat. It's a weird thing.
It is.
It's probably a dangerous thing, to be honest. But if you do take it to the extreme and then develop a really negative association with food for all the supposedly right reasons, and eating clean, and then you become obsessed with it and losing weight, you could get yourself into a real unhealthy way of living. So I'm glad that you've ironed that out. I have to say that you do look the part. Your size and your physique currently is you are a big lad, and I mean big as in height, and you've got the broad shoulders from the rugby. You can see that you're a muscular person. You look athletic now, and I suppose that's what we all see. Hopefully that's reassuring.
Yeah, there's my wife always jokes, saying, the best thing in terms of physique that fat Stephen gave you was your calves.
That's right. Instead of calves, on you like Conan the Barbarian.
They were lugging around all that extra weight for all those years, so they worked hard.
That's the telltale giveaway of a guy who's trimmed down. He's got huge calves.
That's right. Yeah.
Mighty stuff. So rugby then, we're at second row. You're playing in the number 8 jersey. Feeling good, I'm assuming, at this stage, whenever you've lost the weight and you've got a bit of speed about you, and you're a wee bit of a more dynamic player, I suppose.
Yeah, I was playing sort of the best, most fun rugby I played for years. I was playing for CIYMS in Belfast here. I was on their first 15 for a year, and about a year and a half actually before I I unfortunately got involved in a very bad injury, a very bad hit in a match. Now this was actually for the second 15 because I'd been away for a few weeks, and they have a bit of a rule around, you know, if you're not there for training, you're not selected, and I think it's completely fair because they want people to be involved in the club. So it was the second 15 match I was playing, and about 20 minutes into the first half, a guy was coming into the side of a rock, sort of took me out, and the way he landed, he managed to land in a rather delicate area, let's say, and I at the time I thought, geez, that hurt, that, you know, but I think I'll be okay to play on. Got up, and about 30 seconds later I looked inside my shorts and could see it swelling in front of me. So went up to the hospital that night, A&E. They did a lot of sort of tests, few x-rays and stuff. The consultant in charge at the time, sorry, it wasn't the consultant actually, it was the doctor in charge at the time, was about to discharge me, saying, look, we're going to give you some anti-inflammatories, but it's going to be a very sore hit, but I think you're okay. Popped her head back in, said, my consultant's actually just on the way over from the city hospital, he's going to have a look over at you. He came in, took one look at me and said he's going to go to surgery right now. So ended up in surgery. What it was the varicose veins inside the sac had got hit.
Christ almighty.
So I was just full of blood, and I was.
You were bleeding heavily, internal bleeding, really.
Yeah, essentially. The funny thing was the varicose veins I didn't realise were there until I got hit, and they were the thing that saved me from, let's say, becoming half of a man.
Right.
So,
Jesus.
Yeah. That stopped my rugby for a while.
I'd say it stopped more than rugby for a while.
It did, yeah. So over the next 2 years, I actually ended up having 3 rounds of surgery on that because they had to go back and do some corrective surgery. And unfortunately, I got an infection from that, just one of the risks that happened, which resulted in me back in surgery. And there was a 24-hour period. I remember the doctor saying, look, the next 24 hours are crucial here. If things don't change, we're going to have to remove one. And we had the prosthetics chat and everything at that point. Mm-hmm. Of course, my friends were up then visiting me in hospital that night and bought me up an avocado stone to say, "Oh, here's your replacement." So,
quality lads.
I know, yeah. Luckily,
not programmed to deal with this type of emergency with empathy. So let's take the piss.
No, not at all. But sure, it gave me a good laugh anyway. But luckily, that 24-hour period went all right, and I'm still here with all my bits.
Tackle intact.
Yeah. So the doctor did say, look, I'm not telling you never to play rugby again. You know, in terms of there's no reason you can't play rugby, but if you do ever want to have kids, or you know you do want to not end up in surgery again, I would advise you heavily never to play again, because if you get a hit to that area, as rare as it is, that, you know, that's game over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that point, I thought, right, I'll hang up the boots, and I did admittedly play one game for just the crack about a year after that, and I just knew I was holding back the whole time. So I thought, there's no point in me doing this, because if I'm not playing at my full potential, all I'm doing is just putting myself at risk, and you know it's selfish to do that. So unfortunately, around then I had to hang up the rugby boots and just become a supporter of it, and have been ever since.
At that point then, Stephen, whenever you hang up the boots, in your own words, that's a danger point, isn't it? You know, it's a point where you could go a number of different ways you could get into yourself. You could get very down in the mouth. You could maybe start eating again comfort food, and you could hit the drink. You could just start becoming angry, But what do you think, or did anything happen around that time that made you just refocus, regroup, or to stay on track, or did you go off the rails for a wee while?
So in and around that time, I'd recently just lost my dad as well to cancer. So that was hard on all of us. I'm the oldest boy in our family. There's two brothers, two sisters, and I'm the eldest male. So there was a bit of sort of pressure on me, it wasn't really pressure. It was a bit of, I suppose, expectation from everyone to step into that role, and it was a lot of to me, I took it on and I thought it's fine. Like, I've got to step up into the role here, and after getting the rugby sort of taken away from me as well, I suppose I was a bit frustrated, and I actually remember the night after, or 2 nights after my dad had died, my sister and I were over in Newcastle University at the time, and my mum had flown us back, and I remember going to the gym the next day and just running on the treadmill just to clear my head, just absolutely running on it, like sweat dripping off me, pounding, and it was just to get away from everything that was going on. So it's always been a bit of an outlet for me, doing a bit of exercise and doing something to get myself away from the realities of I suppose the real world. But when you take away the ability of having to play rugby and and adding that on, I went off to I was going to the gym and it was just exercising, but I had no real goal. I had no reason. I was just going for mental health, really, and to keep myself fit and trying to keep that physique that I'd sort of worked for. And I think, at that point, I did start to go out a lot more at the weekends, and I did start. I'd always enjoyed a good drink, but I started to enjoy a drink a lot more, and it turned into a lot of long weekends out with friends. Just hell the leather, having great crack, and doing things that weren't healthy for me. Let's say.
Yeah.
I did that for a good number of years. You're talking from about 2015 to 2020, just having fun, let's say.
The weekend warrior as such.
Weekend warrior, yeah, absolutely. And look, I did have fun, and and everything, but I knew to myself at the same time, like this is doing damage to me, I'm sure. It's so, all that I know about heart rate variability and that now, from having your Garmin metrics and everything, I just sort of look back and go, I would been out all weekend drinking and getting no sleep, and then Monday would have come and I'd been up for work, and then I would have gone and done a workout in the gym, and I was like, that must have been putting so much strain on my body. And it's not until you look back on it, you're like, geez, what was it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a similar kind of scenario for myself. Whenever I lost my mother, there was a period of time when she was becoming unwell, and then after she passed, that you kind of just got into a real deep rut, like a real negative routine, where you were just sort of counting the days down, and then your weekends would come along, and then weekends were becoming Thursday night weekends, and maybe not finishing the Sunday nights. So there was what used to be 2 nights in the week was 4 nights in the week, sort of thing. And if there was a football match on during the week, you'd have 4 or 5 cans watching it too. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of on a. I referred to it, I suppose, as a form of reckless abandonment was the term I used to describe that kind of period, where I just didn't really give a shit, because I was depressed and I was annoyed and I was in mourning as such, But then I think without that fall from grace, shall we call it, or without that dip into the dark, you would maybe just muddle on and stay like that. I think you have to drop, and you have to hit a point where you go, Christ, this isn't good. There's something not right about this. This is getting too. I'm being too sore on myself. I need to change something somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and it kind of links up with the sort of the weight in one sense. It's I was picked for rugby because I was big and it was heavy, so I maintained that because that gave me positive feedback. But I knew I was doing damage, and when I cut that away, I had to make that change. When I was going out partying and everything, people were loving the fact that I was out partying and that I was there. I love people to like me. So when you're getting all that positive feedback, from partying, you're like, well, I have to keep partying, but I'm doing damage. So I suppose the two things that started to put an end to that was I knew myself that I was doing a bit of damage, needed to reel it in a wee bit, and I was living on my own at that point, and I got my dog Rye, Black Labrador, and at the end of 2019. So that was going to force me into, right, well, now I have to make sure that I'm home, at the weekend. I can still go out, but he's going to be there. I have to get him out for a walk, and I have to look after him. And then funny, actually, having him introduced me to my now wife, who we actually, very 101 Dalmatians, we met by walking the dogs. She was walking her sister's dog and I was walking my dog, and we met and started chatting a couple of years later when we're married.
Deadly.
So getting him was, I suppose, the first stone in the avalanche. And then 2020, of course, we all know what happened there with lockdown. That stopped all socialising, which, probably helped a bit. But I was also furloughed as well, which meant I had all this free time to do what I needed to do and to do whatever I wanted. So I never wanted to be sitting in the house. I get a bit of cabin fever, so I was using the opportunity to do, go out for runs, take Rye out for big long walks as my exercise for the day, and go out hiking and everything. So I, over the whole lockdown period, there's several different lockdowns we did have. I got out a lot and really got outdoors a lot more than I had done over the number of years. And it sort of made me realise a lot more, well, yes, I love exercising and love, having it for my mental health, but I actually love doing it outside, because it brings a different dynamic to it. You're not just staring at yourself in the gym mirror, and you're not, running in the one spot on the treadmill. I think someone said at one point, they always laugh at people that drive 30 minutes to the gym to run for 30 minutes to drive home. And I'm like, you're right, that's an hour and a half, when you could just run out your front door and run for an hour and a half or an hour.
Absolutely. It was one of the things that lockdown, I mean, people look back at lockdown, and if people have lost loved ones and stuff like that there, and look back with that as at a really significant moment of sadness and trauma, and thankfully we escaped that. And I look back on that as it was a curse at the time, but in some ways it was a blessing in disguise, because we were forced to go back to basics. We were forced to strengthen the relationships that we had with our families, because you couldn't escape your family. Like, you weren't going out to work, and your whole routine was different, and the kids weren't at school, so it was just all about being back within the family unit. And then, as you say, the cabin fever was forcing you to go outside. So you were out riding the bike, out running about, painting and doing the gardens and all that sort of crack. And I look back on it, with an element of fondness and a small and humble feeling of gratitude, because it made me look at myself, because I had nowhere to hide. I was at home 24/7, and was I happy with the guy I was? Was I happy with the man that was parenting these boys? Were they looking to their dad, and was that a healthy person to be modelling themselves on now that they're spending 24/7? So that was one of the factors that made me look at my lifestyle and my choices at that time, and really made me think about who I was and the responsibilities that I had, both for myself and for my family. And that's what really was a catalyst in me bringing about that change. And that started with cutting down on the drink, and eventually cutting it out altogether and getting after a healthier, outdoorsy sort of a lifestyle. It's probably worth, I don't know, I'm kind of lamenting a bit on it, but it does no harm every so often just to revisit that for ourselves, and to look back and to think about that, and just to refresh our memories of what is important.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad that you did find that as well, because, in such a negative period for so many people, it's great to get positives out of it.
Your man, the body coach, remember him? He was flat out, and he was exercising the whole of the UK were exercising with your man.
Yeah.
But he didn't float my boat. I was too busy out painting the feckin' house. So, lockdown, furlough, you're out and about, you're out running, and when did the biking come into play? We're still nowhere near the polished triathlon guy yet, are we? At this point?
The biking and the swimming didn't come in for a while, and the reason the biking didn't come in for so long was the post the surgery, the doctor had said, look, what do you do? Exercise? And I told him, and he's like, okay, great, continuing on with all them, but I just wouldn't advise you to cycle. It'll put a lot of pressure on where you had the surgery, and it might cause you some problems. So cycling, I'd always sort of fobbed off as, well, I'll never do that, which, looking back, I'm kicking myself for, because I absolutely love it. Whilst I didn't have the cycling, I was out running. I'd done, as I said, loads of walks, done a lot of hiking, and it was during a lot of the hiking that I began to understand that I had a bit of something in me that meant I was good at endurance. I was able to go out for hikes for hours on end and wouldn't get tired, and would leave friends, family behind almost. I'd have to stop and sort of wait, and I was beginning to realise, I always knew I was never quick, I was never fast, but geez, I could just keep going. I won't give up. I'll keep going. So myself and my brother decided in, I think it was 2021, we'll do the more than 7 sevens. Big challenge. Why not? So we went ahead and did that, and geez, we had a great day in April that year. Did them. We had great crack. The day we got for it was unbelievable as well. For April, clear, perfect skies, so class views up on the top of each peak, and we had the drone up, and we were sort of posting up on our own Instagrams, how we were getting on at each peak. And geez, I actually loved that. It was a class day. So much so that we decided, right, more than 7 sevens, what's next? We'll do the National 3 Peaks. So July that year, myself, my brother, and 2 of our friends did the National 3 Peaks. So Ben Nevis, Scaffold Pike, and Snowdon in under 24 hours.
Deadly.
Yeah.
What's the logistics like of an event like that, getting from one to the other? How does that work?
Well, so you start. You can start either at Snowdon or at Ben Nevis, because Scaffold Pike, geographically is in between the two. So you'd be stupid to do Scaffold Pike first because you just wouldn't do it under 24 hours. So we started at Ben Nevis, and our original plan was we'll start at about 6 p.m, which will get us to the top and down, hopefully in and around just after midnight. At that point, we'll drive down from Ben Nevis to Scaffold Pike. We'll hike up Scaffold Pike for sunrise, and then hike down, and then make the drive to Snowdon, and would finish in and around 5 o'clock, hopefully, the next day. Unfortunately, on our way up to Ben Nevis, there's one road in, one road out, along the east coast of the loch, and there was a fatal motorbicycle accident, which delayed us by 4 hours. So we didn't actually get to start our hike, our ascent of Ben Nevis until 10 p.m, which meant we summited in pitch black at I think it was just after midnight, 12:30 or so. So it kind of threw a bit of a spanner in the works of our original timings, but you know what? It was grand. It was pretty cool hiking up, going into darkness, and then hiking down and coming and just seeing the town at the bottom just sort of all lit up. And then we just did our drive overnight. We all took a different leg on the drive, because there was going to be two big drives, one from Ben Nevis to Scaffold Pike, and then the next one was going to be from Scaffold Pike to Snowdon. So there was 4 of us. 2 of us did the first drive, and then 2 of us did the second drive, and whoever wasn't driving was just able to catch a few winks. So
it sounds like a friggin' mad old adventure, like.
Oh, it is. It's. Do you know what? It was brilliant. Like, I really enjoyed it, and there was always a bit of the hiking was the only bit in your control, because after that, you were at the mercy of the traffic and anything that happened. And luckily, the only issue that we did have with the traffic happened before we'd even started. Unfortunately, someone, as I say, lost their life, which isn't great. There
can't be too many people that have done that, though. In fairness, Stephen, it seems to be I've never heard of it or spoke to anybody that's done it before, like so.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a big undertaking because you have to do it within the 24 hours as well. So, as I say, it's the main thing that sort of stops a lot of people is trying to get is the logistics around it and making sure you get everywhere on time. But yeah, we managed to do it, I think, in 22 hours, 40 minutes or so. So we had a bit of time to spare as well.
Like, I mean, you're if you ever had a notion that you were built for endurance, that has it cemented.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was the real start of me thinking, I love these challenges, and I'm not quick, but I'm quick when I can go for a long time. So I'd started the next year. Started doing a yearly goal setting, just on my notes on my phone, and I still have it. And I just sort of every year set myself a little challenge, or a couple of challenges of what to do. Those were a couple of the ones that I had on, and because I've done a lot of hiking, I dragged my fiance at the time on to a lot of hikes. We actually did a big hike up Tabletop Mountain in South Africa. Now there's a cable car that goes up to the top and down to the top, but I was like, no, come on, we'll hike it. And
brilliant.
Let's just say that Mountain Rescue was nearly called at one point, because we'd a bit overdone it a bit the night before, and hadn't really taken into the gravity of how big a hike it was.
There's a reason why there was cable cars there, to be honest, Stephen.
Absolutely. Yep, Kelly will tell you that.
You could have maybe got the lift up and then tried to come down it or something.
Aye, that would have definitely made a bit more sense.
So you're setting these targets, you're setting these goals. You've realised that the endurance is there, your fitness is there, you're trimmed down. Everything sounded like you were in a really content place personally, and just life sounded like pretty sweet at that point.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely.
it's probably a good time then to set yourself another wacky challenge like a triathlon,
Yeah,
perhaps.
and that's exactly what I did in 2024. And what end of 2023, I was setting my goals and I thought, right, 2024, I'll do a triathlon. And it was one of those ones that just threw out, and I thought, I'll do a triathlon. Like, I've never done that before. It seems like a big challenge, and it's always quite cool to say when you hear people saying I've done a triathlon. You're like, oh, that's really cool, because like everyone thinks it's quite hard. So we just got married the previous year, in July 2023. 2024, we went on honeymoon to Vietnam, at the start of it. So thought, right, well, we're going to have our honeymoon. I'll enjoy myself, and I'll start training for the triathlon when I get back. So it was about March time that I started training for it, and the triathlon that I'd sort of chosen was Loch Cutra in Galway, which was going to be taking place in May. So sort of really gave myself March, April, and a bit of May, because it was happening at the end of May to get ready for this triathlon. So yeah, I started. I'd always ran, so I was confident in my running. I'd entered myself into the sprint. So 750 meter swim, 20 kilometer cycle, 5k run. I thought, geez, 5k run, no bother. I do that, and that's easy. I'll need to work on the swimming. I'd swam when I was a kid, and I had to pick that back up again. And very humbling. Anyone that sure you hear it all the time, and you probably from your own experience as well, coming back into swimming as an adult, it's a humbling experience.
It absolutely is. I have a young fella here that I'm getting into triathlon at the minute. One of my boys, he's 18, and I've got 4 lads, and all 4 of them have been to the leisure centre here in Oma, and they've all had their swimming lessons, and they've all went through all the advanced lessons and real solid swimmers. And then he's coming back in now trying to swim.
Yeah.
The last time he swam was maybe 10 years ago, so it's there, but it's a rough diamond, shall we say. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And of course, as well, the other thing is you're just thinking to yourself, right, I just want to get going. I want to, I don't want to, what's this drill going to do here? Like, surely I should just swim. And so I just concentrated on, right, just swim and, do as many lengths as you can, and then start, worrying about it. I wasn't even looking at times or anything like that. I was just sort of thinking, right, 750 meters, that's 30 lengths, do that and see how you get on. And there was a lot of front crawling one length and breaststroking the next length, and but I slowly built it up, and was watching a lot of Instagram's great, and YouTube's great for learning a lot of swimming skills. Coming from the other side of it, now looking back, there is definitely an element of, right, you have to figure out which one's right for you, because you can do one thing one session and another thing another session. It's not the right thing for you.
I tell you what wouldn't help you in the swim is having a set of savage calf muscles on you either, because them bad boys are going to sink.
Absolutely. I got video analysis done now earlier this year, and that was my biggest thing, was the sinking legs. So
yeah. Because whenever you're carrying a bit of timber, like, whenever you're overweight, it's a very crude thing to say, but fat floats.
Yeah.
So the more weight people carry, the more buoyant they are.
Yeah.
And then whenever you lose weight, you lose that buoyancy, so it leaves you sitting over that wee bit lower in the water. And then when you've got calf muscles like Popeye's forearms, it doesn't help the thing.
No. So no, I stuck at it, and I just got myself. I got confident in swimming, and it was doing well. I was breathing every 3 strokes, which I'm glad that I learned to do from so early on, because it's helped me out in the long term. So May was fast approaching. And my sister had entered the Belfast Marathon, and we were watching her and supporting her on that. And I mean, she gave it some effort, and she'd had a lot of trouble in terms of training on the way up, and she just powered through and she got it done. And I felt really inspired after it, thinking, Jesus, like if she can slug through that, I'm 2 weeks out of this sprint triathlon here. Is that challenging enough? So I phoned up Loch Coutre and said, look, can I enter the race above me? And they're like, well, actually can, yeah, for the additional cost. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I went from doing a sprint to a sprint plus, which was, it only added 50 metres onto the swim. So it was an 800 metre swim. It was a 40 kilometre cycle, so the same as an Olympic. And then an 8k run, so very similar to an Olympic.
It's not too shabby when you put all that together.
Yeah, so I thought, yeah, brilliant, I'll do that. And at that point, I'd done a couple of cycles in the watt bike in the gym. I'm talking a handful, I count in one hand. So the only time that I got out on the bike was, I think, maybe the week before, on the outside on the bike that I was going to do the event on, and in 20 kilometres, and I thought, geez, that was brilliant, up and down the Cumber Greenway, perfectly flat, and I was like, yep, I've got this in the bag here. So that was me all prepped, and off I went. We hired a camper van for the weekend. Me, the wife, the dog, and two of our best friends went down to Galway. Camped out the Friday night. I was racing on the Saturday morning. Did my first triathlon, and absolutely loved it. It was. I just felt like immediately fell in love with the sport at that point. Even whilst I was doing it, I was just like, this is great. But crossing the line was something special. And they put on a fantastic event down in Loch Coutre. It's a big sort of almost festival. So there's a lot of support. I did struggle off the bike was hard, a lot of hills, and also I'd only cycled 20 kilometres before that. So this was 40. So the legs were feeling it, and I paid for it on the run. I was running at a very slow pace and cramping and everything, but I got through it. And after that, I just absolutely loved it. Was bitten by the bug. And
you got the bug, and you scaled up then sort of fairly quickly, Stephen, and it was no time at all till you were looking at bigger and.
That's right.
Brighter things.
Yeah. So the next race after that was actually my first try the lock at Oma Loch McCrory. Again, I knew I had a bit more concentration at that point. I'd trained for June, July, and I had a really good performance there. I absolutely loved the event. And I bought a bike, I bought a Garmin watch, I'd bought the wetsuit, I'd got all the kit at that point as well. So I was invested in this triathlon business. And after I'd done that, I was like, right, brilliant. Moran sprint triathlon in Castlewellan is at the end of August. Actually, it was the first week in September. It was organised for last year. It's like, right, brilliant. I'm entering in that. It's my birthday weekend. That's perfect. Get everyone down. They can watch me. We'll have a barbecue down there after, a few drinks. And it was all set up for a brilliant weekend. And of course, the swim then got cancelled. And to me, that was taking away a bit of the challenge. A bit of a challenge. So I thought, I could go out at the weekends or, during the week I cycle and then run straight after. So, if you're taking the swim away from it, that's kind of taken away a bit of the challenge for me. So decided to cancel the Castlewellan trip with all the friends and say, look, tell you what, I'll meet you in the pub at 2 o'clock just down the road, and we'll go back up the hours after for a barbecue. So what I did at the morning before that 2 o'clock meet up was I hosted my own Olympic distance triathlon. I thought, if I'm not going to be able to do a sprint, I'll host my own and I'll double distance and try my first Olympic. So
Just on your Todd.
yeah, so I got the wife Kelly to drive me down to Helens Bay, over towards Bangor. Did the 1.5 kilometre swim in the sea there, while she walked the dog and sort of kept an eye on the bike. Got out of the water, got onto the bike, and at that point she then took my wetsuit and everything back home, and I did a 40 kilometre cycle, ended the cycle at the house to drop the bike off, and then did a 10 kilometre run, finishing up at the pub where I told all my friends to meet me. So
Deadly.
it was, and yeah, I did another good performance in that as well, which I was really happy about. And I was like, I was just buzzing off this whole triathlon business. So,
That must be quite the sight to see some lad just randomly landing at a pub, maybe in a tri suit or the swimming gear or whatever it was that you were wearing, and you smelling of wetsuit, salt in your hair, sweating like God knows what, smelling like some sort of a dustbin, and then you just land up. Mine's the harp.
I don't know. So yeah,
Oh, deadly.
but no, it was. And at that point, I was well invested, as you can tell. The thing about that I was loving as well so much was it had given me a bit of purpose as to what I was. I was now training for something, and it was also something that I had a lot of variation with. I wasn't just going to the gym and lifting the same weights, doing the same routine, looking at the same person in the mirror, every week. It was, if I don't feel like swimming today, but I'll get on the bike, or vice versa. And the result, if you were getting bored of one, you were able to go on the other. If you're feeling a bit tight in one, you were able to do the other.
That's it.
So it was giving me a real variation, which is what I love, but then a purpose to work towards as well. So I was just really enjoying that, and when I first started it out, this whole Ironman business, I'd thought to myself, that is just like, how can anyone do that? Like, I've never run a marathon before, like, let alone do all that. This 1.5 kilometre swim that I'd done, that was big enough anyway. But I was sort of, toying with the idea of like, well, I think the voices in my head started to say, maybe you could, like, maybe there's something there. Maybe you could, maybe it's not impossible. Maybe it's a few years off or whatever. And after I completed the Olympic, Kelly had booked in a weekend with her sister. I think it was a wedding they were going to in about 3 weeks' time. So I had a weekend alone to myself, and I don't know what it was that possessed me. I thought, well, I hosted that Olympic myself. Fuck it, I'm going to do a half Ironman here. So,
Good man.
decided to do a 70.3. Again on myself. This time I had to be self-sufficient in terms of I didn't have any support of someone dropping off the wetsuit with and taking it home. So there's a place up here called Let's Go Hydro that does a lot of water sports, and they've got an open water swim. So I thought, right, well, there's a car park up there. What I'll do is I'll bring the bike and everything up there, and I'll have my transition one at the car. I'll do the swim, do the transition one, cycle back to home, and drop the bike at home, and then run back up to the car. And that's just what I did. So yeah, I'm sure some of them were looking at me like, what is this fella doing here? He's sprinting out of the open water swim to get back up to the car and everything. And but I did it, and I did it in about I think it was 6 hours and 55 minutes. Now anyone that knows the the hill up the Let's Go Hydro knows that it's a very long, gradual, steep hill.
Mm-hmm.
I had to run up to finish, so my run wasn't great. But
No.
um,
But hey, it takes a fair bit of mental strength, and resolve to do that. And anybody, that's done the long distance training and has done big brick days will understand the mental side of it. So it's very impressive that you were able to do those things so early on, because you're only at triathlon like less than a year at this point.
yeah, I was really just, I think I was just pushing myself to see how I could go, and I knew as well the time of the year. This was end of September. I knew there'll be no more outside stuff after this, and the swim that day was cold. Now I did
Mm-hmm.
cool down a massive amount, so I'm glad that was the last one of the year because it would have been awful. But I think a bit selfishly, I was thinking, for me, I want to do this because I want to prove to myself I can do it, and the next time I'm going to be able to do that is going to be probably April, May, and I was like, that's too long, too far away. So finished that and ate 3 pizzas that night when I got home, and I was on a high for a while. But the next day, I was sitting thinking to myself, well, that was brilliant. Like, fair fucks for doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe this whole Ironman. If I did that, I would finish an Ironman in under 14 hours. I was like, that's actually really good. And next thing you know, I was on the Ironman website and I was booking Ironman Austria for the next year.
Good man.
And I thought,
Yep.
well, go for it. I've done the half now. Let's do it. And the other thing in the back of my mind was I knew that we were starting to try for kids, me and Kelly. So I thought, look, next year, I suppose, and the early half of next year is my opportunity to do it, because if I don't, and we do start having kids, I know it's going to be so difficult to train
Mm-hmm.
to get Kelly on board with me training.
Absolutely, yeah. When there's
Yeah,
a nipper on the scene, your priorities change, your sleep's impacted.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, Kelly was coming home later on that afternoon, so I was going to tell her that she didn't even know I was doing this half Ironman. I was going to tell her, and does a bit of a surprise and everything. She had a bit of a bigger surprise to tell me that day, though, when she got back, which was that she'd found out before she left on Friday that she was pregnant.
Okay.
And the due date was 2 weeks before Ironman Austria. So I was sitting there going, oh, fuck, I've just booked this.
Had you told her that you had signed up for
No,
Austria at this point?
I hadn't even at this point either. So
Oh man, it's time to confess.
I thought,
So you had all these plans about how you were going to work up to this. I'm going to spend weeks and weeks hoovering the house,
yeah,
doing all the chores, and that spare room that you're looking painted. Well, I'm doing nothing this week. I could maybe do that too. Do you want me to get the shopping for you? Your hair's looking great. All that was out the window.
oh yeah. So I knew now's not the time to bring it up. Let's enjoy the wee bubble for now. And,
Yeah.
A couple of days later, I did confess, and she took it a lot better than I did think it was going to go down.
Good, fair play.
So what it did mean was that obviously 2 weeks after, a baby being due, she could have gone 2 weeks over. Ironman Austria was not happening.
No.
Luckily, I booked it with the Flex 90 that Ironman offer, which gives you ability to defer to another race in the year or to the following year, which meant that we had options. So the next couple of weeks were sort of looking. I was researching. I put together a couple of presentations for Kelly because she likes to know facts and figures and everything, and timelines. So I put together all that to say, right, look, here's the race options, and here's how pregnant you would be, or when the baby would be, you know. At one
Here's how buoyant you'll be.
yeah, exactly. At one point, I mean, we were nearly going to South Africa. We were nearly going to Texas. Tried it before the baby came. Luckily, we didn't do those ones because Kelly had a rough pregnancy, and she would not have been fit to fly, and she would have just hated the whole time. So we eventually landed on Ironman Vitoria Gasteiz in Spain, which was going to take place 6 weeks after the due date. Which, thought, look, even if you go 2 weeks over, that still gives us 4 weeks, to get the passport and to get the, everything organised for the baby. And beyond that, the races weren't looking as favourable. So thought, you know what, it'll also mean we get a wee family holiday away to Spain. So that was that. We thought, right, well, Spain's booked in. That was sort of in and around October time that we finalised that. I looked at my training plan, and it was a sort of a 30-week training plan, which was going to start in end of December. So in the meantime, I thought, well, look, I'll use this as a big sort of FTP builder for the bike. Do a lot of strength work on the bike and get out and everything, and do a couple of runs, focus on technique in the swim before I get into this training plan. So had started doing that training, and was out on the bike one day, just down at the airport road, running along the side of the Belfast City Airport. Lovely flat road, very rarely any traffic on it at all. And I was out just one Saturday afternoon, and I was cycling along about 30 something kilometres an hour, and I was like, geez, I'm putting down a good bit of power here, and a car just pulled out straight in front of me. I hit nothing I could do at all. If they'd done it and I was 50 metres back, I still would have hit them. They just pulled out, and it all happened in slow motion.
Nightmare.
I remember it all, and I hit the car at full speed, front of the left hand side wheel, flipped over the top of the car, out of the bike, hit off the bonnet before I hit the ground, which is what actually saved me. If I'd hit the middle of the car, I would have gone straight over the top, and the first thing I would have hit would have been the concrete.
You were a lucky boy.
Extremely lucky. The paramedics on scene, they'd said, look, had you not hit the bonnet, you would have broken your neck or your back.
Christ.
So that was going to put a big dampener on all this training, because I didn't know. I was sitting there thinking, first of all, I was thinking, thank fuck I'm alive. I was getting immobilised and everything, and getting taken up to the hospital for scans and everything to make sure I was all right. So I was going up to the Royal Victoria Hospital, and the second thing I was thinking was like, fuck, Kelly's doing an extra shift there today. Shit, she's going to see me. So she'd actually been booked in for a massage that night, and I was like, I do not want to ruin her day at all. Maybe I'm okay and everything's fine, but I'm not even going to tell her what's happened here until I need to. And the paramedic, had said to me, look, we need to take some next of kin details, like who do you want to give? And I said, well, are you contacting them right now, or is it just to have? And they're like, why? And I was like, well, if you're contacting them right now, I'm going to give you my mum's number. If you just have to have it, I'll give my wife's number, because she's going for a massage soon, and I don't want to ruin it on her. So yeah, went up, and I got scans and everything, and luckily nothing major broken, but there's a lot of whiplash, a lot of bad knee damage and everything, which meant I wasn't able to train for weeks, I was Still don't know the full extent of the damage of it, but I had to do a lot of physio for a number of weeks to try and get back up and to be able to do anything. And the running was the big one because my knee took so much impact that I wasn't able to run for a long time. I slowly had to build up running in the physio, using the anti-gravity machine, which essentially you strap into what's like a canoe, what you would strap into a canoe with, and inflate underneath you a certain percentage of your body weight, and then you start running.
Right.
So I built that up over a number of weeks, and eventually got out running again. To slowly built it up, and over the next sort of from January onwards, I built everything back up and started getting into my training. I was doing about 6 days a week training, various sessions, and building up the volume each week. And it was going really well. We were managed to get everything in. I managed to fit it in around my sort of lifestyle. I do finish work. I start early, but I finish early. The nature of the bakery, which meant that I was able to, get up early, go do work, and then train, and still be home for about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Which didn't impact, our sort of time together as much.
Worked out well, that.
It did, yeah, it did. So in the build up to that, I did the Oma Half Marathon, the Roe Valley Sprint Triathlon, and I had to do another Olympic simulation, and another 70.3 simulation. On the 70.3 simulation, I did the same route that I did earlier previous year, and it took 55 minutes off my time.
55.
55. So I got it down to 6 hours.
Brilliant.
Which just,
you must have been well chuffed with that.
I was. It just gave me so much confidence that I'm going into this race here, and I'm well prepared. And
good stuff.
I was thinking, I'll not do. You think going into full Ironman, you don't just double your distance from a half Ironman, or you double your time, because there's always going to be a bit extra. But I was sitting thinking to myself, well, I'm definitely going to do sub 14, which I was going to be very happy with. Just before we were approaching the 13th of July, which was race day, our daughter arrived, Gracie, arrived on the 31st of May.
Just in time to cheer on her old man, eh?
Absolutely. I'm just right in the middle of the peak training section of the training plan.
Yeah, well, proper order. Whenever a princess comes on the scene, that she demands the centre of attention. There's no point hanging about for a lull. Like a girl has to make an entry, doesn't she?
Absolutely. And do you know what? Kelly did a fantastic job bringing her in. I keep saying that was her Iron Man.
Hey, give me an Iron Man any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. For what she went through, yeah,
absolutely. That's a whole different level of threshold and endurance that we'll never understand. So hats off to,
for sure,
all those super moms out there.
Yeah. So yeah, she'd arrived, and she joined me for her as my supporter at 3 days old for my first indoor cycle.
Deadly.
Yeah. So no, that was going really well. Now, the peak weeks, as you know, of the training plan, they do take their toll on you, and there's a lot to do, and the big long rides are tough. But when you throw in a newborn as well, there was a few days when it was just like it was a mental battle to even go out, because I was mentally and physically tired.
I always found that the training, whenever you are physically tired, whilst it's horrible at the time, does stand you in good stead, because you get used to it. You know what it's like to be having to cover X amounts of miles whenever you are tired. So it does stand you in good stead as much as it's horrible at the time.
Yeah, no, and I think looking back, it prepared me for what was to come as well. There was a few days Kelly had to give me a bit of stern moral support, let's say, and she got me out. You know, there's days that I wouldn't have done it without her, and I'm glad that she did. But look, we got to the taper, and I was glad to get to the taper. You know, start to lower down the training, get ready for the race. I was getting really excited for it. A good friend of a good friend of mine now, who'd supported me throughout the journey. It was the guy that my mum knew through church, Gary, and he's done several Ironmans and, you know, several Ironman 70.3s and everything, and he was giving me advice and chatting to me. You know, we'd meet up for coffee the whole way through this whole journey, and 2 weeks out from the event, he met up with me and just was finding out about the training plan and how I was getting on. And he just filled me with so much confidence. He was, you know, asked me, have I done this? Have I done that? And I was like, yes, I've done this. And he's like, geez, you're brilliant. You're there. He's like, you could stop training now and you've got it. So I was going into Spain, you know, with a lot of confidence and thinking, this is like, you know, they always say, yeah, the real Ironman is the training and the race is the victory lap. And that really sort of became apparent as we approached race day. So we got the race day, the race week. Kelly, Gracie, my mum and my sister all came out with me to Spain. And we travelled down, got in on the Thursday evening, started just getting settled in, getting excited. Friday, I did the registration, walked around the town, familiarised myself with it. Well, started the carb load, which was great in Spain. A lot of good food there as well. And then Saturday, got the bike set up at the lake, got everything sorted, and then it was Sunday and it was race day. So it was go time, and
it's some feeling lining up there at the start of that event, you know, with everything that you had overcome, you know, even in your short sort of training time, the timeline of even doing your first triathlon to lining up on the Ironman, outside of all the other stuff, you know, in terms of losing the weight and getting the bicycle accident in the middle of it and a newborn and all the rest. Like, you know, you were well equipped.
Yeah.
Can you remember what you were feeling just as the buzzer went off, and you were getting into the water?
Yeah, I do. I was at that point. I was just so excited and so happy to be there and to have the opportunity to do it. Because it was such a long process of getting there, and I remember going into the water and thinking, well, this is what you wanted. Enjoy it, and I did. Just before we got in, Paul Kay, the Ironman announcer, you know, he got the whole crowd riled up, and I got a bit emotional at that point when he sort of said, it's not just you that have got yourself here. Look around at the people that are with you, and it's them who've supported you throughout it. And that really hit home with me, you know, because it was like, you know what, they've come with me on this journey, and they're still here, and they're up early supporting me. And I was a lot of emotions, you know, very thankful, very honoured to be there, and so thankful to them. So yeah, when it was time for me to actually get into the water, it was right. This is your time. Enjoy it.
It's a phenomenal experience, you know, in terms of all those emotions, and it's the sort of the climax of a long sustained effort of, you know, lonely miles, dark mornings, wet runs, gnarly, hateful old windy bikes. You know, all experimenting with stuff, sick stomachs, and in your case, an accident, injuries, and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff, and to finally actually get there after putting yourself through the rigor for months and months and months and months, I think it's such a relief that you're able to get there. And then there's a wave of pride comes over you that you've managed to get yourself to this point. And then there's a wave of excitement as to, will I be able to get this done? And then there's a wave of nerves. And then there's a wave of like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of that, like you're just in a spin. It's just absolutely insane, but it's a really remarkable, magical feeling. Like there's nothing like it, in my opinion.
No, absolutely, and to be surrounded by so many people going through that as well at the same time is, yeah, as you say, it's indescribable, really.
The other part of it is the final part of it. Coming down the red carpet, talking through that bit. Whenever you hear the words, Stephen Chisholm, you are an Iron Man.
Well,
That's something else, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. Funny on that. The way that the marathon worked was you had to pass the finish line 3 times before, and actually run alongside it before you finished. It was only in your final lap you were allowed to run down it. And running up to it was, I was just, I got a bit emotional about 200 metres before that, which I suppose was good because then it meant when I was running down the red carpet it looked cool, calm and collected. But
the graceful duck and the feet going like the clappers under the water, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I ran up. My sister was taking a video of me, and I just managed to catch her, so I got a quick glance to her. Got to ring the first timers bell, and just coming down the red carpet was amazing. And I could just see I couldn't believe I've done it. I just kept on saying to myself, I've done it, and the only thing was, as I was coming down, there was a girl in front of me. A good while in front of me, Paul Cade, and read out her name. So as I was going up to ring the bell, I thought, brilliant, Paul's going to ring my name out. Of course, at that point, him and the Spanish announcer were then switching turns. So Paul was having a break and he was going on. So I was looking at Paul, his back was turned, and I thought, he's not going to say my name here. And
after all this,
lo and behold, he didn't say my name. So when I got across the line, I didn't hear as I crossed the line, Stephen Chisholm, you're an Iron Man. It was when I was a couple of steps past, the Spanish announcer said, Stephen Chisholm, you're an Iron Man. So it did happen, just not in the way you'd originally thought it was going to. But you know what? That's not the. It's great to hear it, and I've heard it as well at the same time. But it's doing the whole event is the Ironman. It's not hearing those words is not the pinnacle of it. It's
the words in many respects are neither here nor there, because the truth of the matter is, Stephen Chisholm, you are an Ironman. That's now a matter of fact.
Yeah,
because you went and got the old tattoo on the calf as well, didn't you? I spotted that fresh ink in Loch McCrory there at the weekend.
I know, I had to.
It's shining brightly. It's so red.
I know. I was risking it a wee bit because it was still so fresh that with the no swimming sort of business. But yeah, it's still looking good. But amazing experience, and when I got across the line and after I went to the recovery area and got all the food that I thought I was going to eat, and then of course couldn't because my stomach wasn't right, and managed a couple of bites of stuff and one sip of beer before I realised, not happening. I went out and joined the family and we all celebrated, and then they'd said to me, did you see your time? And I said no, and I didn't even see what my time was, and they were like, you did it in 11 hours and 46 minutes.
Holy shit, well done.
I could not believe it. I was like, what? Like, I couldn't. I knew I had a good swim, because when I got out, I checked my watch, and I was like, wow, that did a really good swim there. For me, anyway, not by many other standards. I knew my bike had gone to plan. It was 5 minutes quicker on the bike, and then marathon. I knew I'd done a decent marathon, all things considered, but I couldn't believe it the time I got. So that was the big cherry on top.
It was a rocky and winding road and path that you took to get to it, and then it all came together on the day. Everything just worked out.
It did, absolutely. And
Sweet.
in terms of a race, it was a class course. Swim was just lovely. Water was fantastic. It was beautiful surroundings. You were sighting at a church. I think I mentioned to you at Loch McCrory, the first 1.8 kilometres.
That's right, yeah.
Out of church, on the far shore. Beautiful bike through the Spanish countryside, past churches and everything, and
it's up in the Basque region, isn't it? In Spain, up in the north. Yeah. I've actually looked at this one on the Ironman website too. It's one I fancy. I fancy it as a safety option with the lake swim.
Yeah, and do you know what? The bike course is 1,100 meters or thereabouts, and it does not feel like it at all. It is a fast bike course. And the marathon is 4 laps around the town, and the support on it is just next. It's sensational. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is just shouting for you. It doesn't matter if they know you or not. It doesn't matter what language they speak. They see your name and they shout out whatever support they say in their country, and it's great.
Brilliant stuff, Stephen. Thanks very much for sharing that story, because that is some journey, and it's one that'll resonate with a lot of people and inspire a lot of people. It's one that's similar to my own in the sense of not maybe being happy with who you were, doing something about it, setting yourself a target, going after a goal, and getting there. And do you feel now sort of satisfied and content within yourself that you have achieved something that an older version of you could only dream of?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's the bit, isn't it? That's the bit. And if you don't think that, I'm here to tell you that's what you need to be thinking now.
No,
you have proven it, and I have proven it, and everybody else that's done their version of Ironman, be it a 10k walk or whatever, has demonstrated to themselves that when they put their mind to something, that they can achieve it. Yeah, and that's the bit.
No, it is, absolutely. And it's something that, and I said this to my wife and my family as well. It's something that I can see myself continuing on and doing. All this trait. It's part of my lifestyle now, and it's something I can sustain doing, this training. And then the pinnacle of them is having a race to do. Yeah, I've done an Ironman now. It's not to say I'll not ever do another one. Ask my wife; she might say other things. But we're working on that.
Yeah.
And but look, there's plenty of good races out there. A lot of local races that we just did the Oma one at the weekend there. I'm looking at the Mourne Castlewellan one again this year. So it's something that I can always look forward to, having a race, but in between all that, I can swim, bike and run throughout the week and keep myself happy.
Good stuff. It sounds like you found yourself.
I think so, yeah, and
brilliant.
I'm feeling great for it.
If anybody wants to jump on board and follow your journey, Stephen, what's your Instagram handle, if that's the right word?
Yeah, I've got I documented my whole Ironman journey, so everyone can, if you want to look back on what I did a bit of a weekly update on that, with all my sessions through the week, and then there's a couple of the finale, running down the red carpet and everything. But it's Stevie Iron C, all one word.
Brilliant. I'll pop a wee link to that in the description. And thank you very much, Stephen. It's a great sport, and all the very best for you and your family moving forward, and hopefully I'll bump into you in 2026 at another race.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me.